Alright, so on this question, student wants to make a generalization about the kind of study conducted by Glickman, Brown, and Song. Okay, so please make a note that we're looking for a generalization. So if you walk down to a specific detail, that's not likely the answer. Okay, so let's look at choice. Actually, let's read the student's note. British musicians John Lennon and Paul McCartney share song credit for numerous Beatles songs. Many Lennon-McCartney songs were actually written by either Lennon or McCartney, but not both. So far, line 1 and 2 introduce John Lennon and Paul McCartney and their song writings, but nothing about the kind of study conducted by these three men. So let's just keep reading. The exact authorship of specific parts of many Beatles songs, such as the verse for In My Life, is disputed. Please do not get into the details. So I see a lot of In My Life, In My Life, In My Life. Okay, but let's just continue reading. Mark Glickman, Jason Brown, and Ryan Song use statistical methods to analyze the musical content of Beatles songs. So now we mentioned these three people. Okay, so I'm gonna use a different color. Mark Glickman, Jason Brown, and Ryan Song, and that match with the directions people here. Okay, so what did they do? They use a statistical methods. Okay, so you need to talk about statistical methods, and I do see here, and I also see here. So that means we can eliminate choice B, right? It doesn't talk about like what kind of study they conducted. It's just saying in choice B there is only 18.9% probability, but it didn't really say the statistical method, so we can eliminate that. Not only that, we see that there's a specific example of just one song, not the generalization about the study they conducted. So don't get bogged into too specific. Choice C, it's likely that John Lennon, not Paul McCartney, wrote the verse for In My Life. Okay, so this doesn't even talk anything about the kind of study conducted. It just make a conclusion from their study that it's likely John Lennon wrote the In My Life, but it's not answering the question about the generalization about the kind of study. So we can eliminate choice C. Alright, so that leaves me with choice A versus D. So choice A, based on statistical analysis, Glickman, Brown, Song claim that John Lennon wrote the verses of In My Life. Very tempting because it's generalizing that John Lennon wrote this. But don't forget, we are making generalization not about their authorship, but about the kind of study. Okay, about the kind of study. We're not making generalization of kind of study here. We're instead just making the generalization about using that statistical analysis that John Lennon wrote the verse In My Life. So that's not going to be it. Choice D is really about generalization about study of kind of study. So researchers have used statistical methods. Okay, so it's correct to address the question of authorship within the field of music. It's not just about Paul McCartney and John Lennon. In fact, that will be just one example. These researchers probably use this method to many other artists to if there's any dispute about the who wrote the song. So this is really general. Okay, to address the question, we didn't make any specific. We didn't mention about John Lennon and Paul McCartney. We just made a very general ideas of what they did to argue whose authorship it is. So choice D is the best answer here.